Welcome back to the Ingrain Workshop. I'm Rick, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to install a T1-11 siding inside a metal building. Let's get her done. Okay, so before I start installing the T1-11 siding, I've got to make some cutouts. I have some diagonal metal beams that run at my truss locations that I've got to notch out around. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a jigsaw and basically cutting out the notches where the diagonal beams are going to be located. And I pretty much had to do this to every sheet of T1-11 siding that I installed. But that was about it. Other than this particular notch, I was able to just go ahead, once I got everything notched out, and install the sheet of T1-11 siding. So here you can see the installed T1-11 siding panels and see the diagonal trusses that I had to notch around. So here you can see I'm installing the T1-11 sheet with the notch that I had just cut out for the diagonal bracing. And because I'm going back and putting in a faux beam on the diagonal brace, it doesn't have to be cut out exact. So, I probably had a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch excess on both sides of the notch out. And then once I get the panel in place, here I am going in and just pre-drilling some holes at the joints where I can go back and then just add some wood screws. Now, when installing the siding, I'm using two types of screws. I'm using a wood screw where I've got the wood framing that I installed within the walls, which was part of my earlier wall prep video. And then I'm also using metal screws where where I have to fasten to either a horizontal or a vertical metal stud. But right here where this joint is, all the butt joints or lap joints for the siding were done from wood 2x4s. So all the fastening here will be with just wood screws. And here are both the wood and the metal screws that I'm using on this project. You can pick them up at any big box store. So here's the finished detail around the window openings and also around the diagonal horizontal bracing. You can see the gap. That gap will be covered up by the faux beams that will later be installed to cover up the diagonal metal bracing. So that slowed the project down a little bit, but not that much. And then the windows will get wrapped with wood trim, which I'm going to stain in an early American and then I'll put trim around the outside. And that's the unfinished wall, the wall that I'm going to do next. And again, you can see that the wall is prepped. It's got the rigid insulation. It's ready to go. This is the existing wood rack, and you can kind of see how I fastened the T1-11 siding between the vertical supports for the lumber rack. You know, this area doesn't have to be perfect because it's probably not going to be seen because it's going to be covered with wood. But I did try to make it as perfect as possible. So here I'm screwing into the horizontal nailers that I installed previously. These are installed at 36 inches above the floor. That way, whenever I come back later and put in shop cabinets, I'll have something to screw to. But this was also a good area for me to fasten the T1-11 siding to, so I was able to do this at 36 inches, and then I've got another one at 8 feet, which is where the top of the T1-11 pieces join. And then again, this is just popping in wood screws along the vertical wood support studs that I had previously installed. Pretty much the only place that I had to install the metal screws were along the bottom plate. And you can see here, I'm just using some shims just to shim the T1-11 siding off the finished floor, just in case my floor wasn't perfectly level. And that varied through the workshop, but at least now I had a gap to play with. That's going to be covered up by the baseboard anyway. And so here I am drilling in the metal screws into the bottom metal plate. And I'm just using an impact driver, and I think a Phillips head number 2 is what these, I believe they're called Trek metal self-tapping screws. And that's what I used whenever I had to fasten any of the T1-11 siding to actual metal. And it worked out pretty good. Definitely not as easy as the wood fasteners, but they still got the job done. Okay, I've completed the installation of the T1-11 siding. It's 100% complete on all 4 walls, and now I'm going and installing some nailing strips that I'm going to use for nailing the plywood to the ceiling. And I just wanted to show you the location of where I installed those. They're going to be up on the gable ends of the roof. And those are the nailing strips that are going to be used to nail the at least the gable end of the plywood ceiling. The rest of the plywood ceiling will be screwed to the bottom of the vaulted portion and then to the top of the bottom cord of the truss there.
So it's going to be a flat roof through the middle of the ceiling, and then on the sides it'll be vaulted right there on the sides. So just the tails on either side will be vaulted. And you can see on this gable wall there the nailers that I installed. And that's just to nail the what I call the flying end of the plywood ceiling. Otherwise there'd just be nothing to nail it to. And as you can see, the walls are 100% complete. And the reason why there's no T1-11 siding up in that gable end is because that's going to be up in the attic portion, and that's not going to be visible. But that's the only wall, part of the wall that doesn't get T1-11 siding. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to take and install a stainable wood filler in all the screw holes and let that dry, sand that down, and then I can start staining the siding. Okay, so today I've started the staining process of the T1-11 siding. The product that I'm using is a Minwax. I think it's called Golden Pecan. It's formula 245. I tried to buy as many gallon cans as I could find at the big box stores. Unfortunately, stain's not as readily available as paint, so I'm having to go to different big box stores to acquire the number of gallons that I'm going to need to do this project. So I started in the very back corner of the workshop just to test it out, make sure it's what I wanted. And I also started around the existing lumber rack, so that I knew that area would be covered up anyway in case I made some mistakes. Because instead of brushing or using a rag to put the stain on, I'm just rolling it on. The T1-11 is absorbing the stains so much, there's really not anything to wipe off. So let me show you how it's turned out so far. So that's the existing T1-11 siding that's not stained, and then this is the stained portion, which is in the area of where the wood rack is, the existing wood rack. And you can probably see I've stained the wood rack, which was just pressure treated 2x4s. And of course, you know, it came out in a darker color, which is fine. That will accent that because I'm going to be staining the faux beams that I'm going to be installing in the ceiling to cover up the metal trusses. I'm going to be staining those, I believe, in an early American, so it's going to be a darker color, probably similar to the wood that's on the wood rack. So that's the way it's come out so far. I'm happy with it. I wanted a little bit of an orangey tinge to it. And then, like I said, that's going to be a nice contrast with the faux beams when I get those installed and get those stained in early American. So that's where I'm at with the staining project. Okay, so that's going to complete the video for installing T1-11 siding in a metal building. As you can see from the end of the video, the T1-11 siding is complete. It's also stained. The only thing left I have left to do is to go back and spray polyurethane on the walls, but I'm waiting until I get the ceiling done because I'm going to be whitewashing the ceiling, and I'd rather just apply a clear coat finish to both the ceiling and the walls at one time. So that'd be a future project, but this one's complete. Well, that's going to wrap up this video on how to install T1-11 siding in a metal building. I hope this video helps you out in your project. If it did, please leave it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. If you like videos like this, I'll be posting a new video every week. Get out there, create, build, and inspire, and as always, pay it forward. I'm Rick, and this is the Ingrain Workshop, signing out. See you next week.